Aloha family. Happy Saturday. We're in Aries moon right now, and there has been a lot of healing going on and moving energy out and upgrading in the channel over the last week. And one of the things that came across my path that I have been using as an amazing tool is a book, and it's called Zero Limits, and it's The Secret Hawaiian System for Health, Wealth, Peace, and More by Joe Vitale and Dr. Hugh Lin. I borrowed this from my friend William in Hawaii before I left and didn't start reading it until about a week or so ago. And since then, things have really changed for me. I've had a huge shifting week, a lot of healing, and doing some mind reframing here in Lafayette. All kinds of amazing things are taking place. And so, um, one of the things that I read, so this book is about Ho'oponopono. And for those of you who are not familiar with what that is, Ho'oponopono in Hawaiian means please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. And essentially, what the healing method revolves around is taking 100% responsibility for every situation, every problem, every person, everything that comes across our path that needs healing. It's not about the situation or dealing with the situation. It's about clearing ourselves because everything aligns in front of us because it's a part of who we are. And so someone else's pain or tragedy is your own. And so that is the path of Ho'oponopono. And I have read a lot of books in my life and all different kinds. And I have to say that this book is the best book I've ever read in my life. Like up to this point, it's that moving. As someone who is in the healing spectrum of my consciousness, and sharing my energy with others, this has been a really amazing tool. And so, of course, I can't help but share it. And so, one of the things that came up to me this week while I'm learning this method of Ho'oponopono and rewiring my brain circuitry, my subconscious mind to move to this new rhythm of healing, something that came up was I experienced a situation when I believe I was 18 years old, and it's something that I would consider sexual trauma. I was roofied in my alcoholic beverage, and when I woke up, my pants were down around my ankles. Now, this was a really long time ago. I'm turning 40 years old this year, and I hadn't thought about that situation or that person in so long. And I had moved past all of that stuff already. Yet I channel and I get signs and mudras and different things my hands do to signal in my body and the bodies of others what's going on. And I get this symbol that rocks back and forth like this at my belly. And I'm not pregnant. But what that means is that I'm pregnant with energy. There's energy there. And so one of the things that I did is I asked in my mind, I was laying down and just feeling the energy in my body. And I was ho'oponoponoing it, going through the mantra in my mind, clearing some things out. And when I got that pregnant movement in my channel, and I asked whose energy was I pregnant with, whose energy was pulling on me, that person's name came into my mind. And I was stunned. I was shocked. And I knew instantly that somewhere in my muscular structure, I was holding on to some energy from that situation and from that person. So I immediately went into Ho'oponopono and I asked that person who did that to me to forgive me for that sexual trauma, to that I am sorry for that sexual trauma and that I love them and thank you. And I repeated it over and over again for about 3 times. And the coolest thing happened. I felt energetic fingers move into my vagina, push up and pull out. And I had a huge energy release. And I couldn't believe it. And I didn't have any emotional reaction to that situation coming up in my mind because I'm not there. I've moved past it a long time ago. But what it was is I needed to clean. I needed to erase my body. I needed to erase that energy and send that healing energy to that person as well, because I realized that all of the things that have happened to me is because I called them in some degree, or they would not have been there. And so as I have been integrating in and embracing this new Ho'oponopono way of healing, it is really opening me up. I have been in this constant swirl in my mind lately of this voice telling me really horrible things to myself. And I realized that I didn't feel like it was part of me in some way because I love myself. Yet there was this voice that was like tapping in constantly. And no matter how much love I was sending to it, no matter what, it just wasn't working. So a couple of days in the shower, I just told it to fuck off. Like I just straight up was like, hey, I cut it. And then I realized that wasn't the answer either. It was Ho'oponopono. It was about forgiving me, forgiving myself for those thoughts, realizing that it's not me, and that realizing that it is me, that it is my own voice telling me these things in some kind of way, whether it's coming from someone else or not. It's my situation. It's something that's brought to me. So all week long, when things come up in my mind that doesn't feel good to me, maybe something about someone else comes up that doesn't feel good to me, whatever the situation is, instead of like reprogramming that situation to think something differently, I just go straight in to Ho'oponopono. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. And that gets me back to that zero state where there's zero limitations. Because in our mind, everything is either a memory or an inspiration. And when it becomes a memory, that's when the human begins to interfere with the inspiration that came in. The thoughts that come in through the channel. And so I wanted to read a part of this book. And so just to really get the message of Ho'oponopono across. And so this book is written from the perspective of Dr. Joe Vitale. He is a PhD, I believe, doctor. And this is about the studies that he did with Dr. Hugh Lin, who created the upgraded version of Ho'oponopono, which is the self-identity. So, in Maui, a realtor drove us around to look at houses. Along the way, we did a lot of talking about healing, spirituality, the movie The Secret, and personal growth. It was all interesting, but something enlightening took place on one segment of our drive. The realtor had read my now famous article on Dr. Hugh Lin and the Ho'oponopono Hawaiian healing process he used to heal an entire ward of mentally ill criminals. Like everyone else, the realtor found the article inspiring. Like everyone else, he didn't quite understand it. As we drove around the beautiful island of Maui, I listened to the realtor complain about a house he couldn't sell. The buyer and the seller were fighting over it, causing a lot of anger, resentment, and more. The sale was caught up in their bickering and wasn't going to close anytime soon. The realtor was obviously frustrated by their actions. I listened for a while and then felt inspired to speak up. Would you like to know how Dr. Hugh Lin might handle this situation using Ho'oponopono? I asked. Yes, the realtor exclaimed, obviously curious. I'm definitely interested. Tell me. This ought to be good, Narissa said. Well, I'm not Dr. Hugh Lin, I began, but I am writing a book with him and I've trained with him. So I think I know how he might handle this. Tell me. What Dr. Hugh Lin is look within himself to see what is within him that is sharing the experience he sees on the outside. I began. When he worked at that mental hospital, he looked at the patient's charts. Whether he felt repulsive at their actions or something else, he didn't deal with the person. He dealt with the feelings he experienced. As he cleared what was within him, they began to get clearer and heal. I like this, the realtor said. Most people have no idea what responsibility means, I continued. They're into blame. As they grow and become more aware, they begin to consider that they are responsible for what they say and do. Beyond that, you become even more aware, and you begin to realize that you're responsible for what everyone says or does simply because they are in your experience. If you create your own reality, then you created all you see, even the parts you don't like. The realtor was smiling, nodding his head. I kept talking. It doesn't matter what the buyer or seller does in this situation, I said. It matters what you do. Dr. Ihaleakala what Dr. Ihaleakala does is simply repeat, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. He doesn't say it to the people, he says it to the divine. The idea is to clear that shared energy. I'll do this, the realtor said. But you don't do it to get something, I went on. You do it because it's how we clear the shared energy so no one has to experience it ever again. It's a cleansing, and you never stop doing it. I paused. The realtor seemed to get it. His eyes were wide, and his smile was big. If it comes up in your awareness, I continued, then it's up for you to clean and heal. Since you brought this situation of the buyer and seller to my attention, then I have to clean on it too. It's now part of my life experience. If I'm the creator of my experience, then this is something I'm responsible for too. I let all of this sink in as we continued our drive to look at the other homes in Maui. A few days later, I received an email from the realtor. He said he was continuing to do Dr. Ihaleakala's process. That's how it works. It's all love. It's all continuous, and you're totally responsible. One day, I taught a seminar with Mindy Hurt, who runs the Wimberley, Texas Unity Church. It's called The Secret of Money. Later in it, I taught everyone the Ho'oponopono method of cleaning. Afterwards, one gentleman came up and said, I have a problem saying I'm sorry and please forgive me. Why? I asked. I had never heard this before. I was curious. I can't imagine a loving God or divinity who needs asking for forgiveness, he said. I don't think the divine has to forgive me for anything. I thought about it and later knew the reply I should have given him. You aren't saying those statements to be forgiven by the divinity. You're saying them to clean yourself. You say them to divinity, but they are to clean you. In other words, the divine is already showering love on you. It has never stopped. At the zero state, where there are zero limits, the closest we can describe it is as a state of pure love. It's there, but you're not. So by saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, you are cleaning the programs in you that are preventing you from being at a zero state love. Again, the divine doesn't need you to do Ho'oponopono, but you need to do it. Recently, I received a heart-wrenching email from a dear friend of mine. She said, what would you say to someone who has been reading your book, who watched The Secret, who reads your blog every day, who does her best, yet is still broke, unhappy, and failing? I keep having problem after problem. It never ends. What would you say? I felt her pain. After all, at one point, I was homeless. I struggled in poverty for a decade. My overnight success probably took 20 years to occur. I know what it feels like to feel you're stuck in quicksand. What would you say to such a person? In the past, I would offer solutions. I would say, read The Magic Believing by Claude Bristol, watch the movie The Secret 7 times, create a scenario of how you want life to be, take time every day to meditate, work on self-sabotage issues. But that's the frontal approach to change. I've learned, and Dr. Ihaleakala will attest, that that approach rarely works. So what's left? How do you or me or anyone help someone stuck in pain? According to Ho'oponopono, the only way is by cleaning yourself. People who come before me, including the one who wrote me, are sharing a program with me. They caught it like a virus of the mind. They aren't to blame. They feel trapped or concerned. I can throw them a rope, but more often than not, they won't use it, or they'll hang themselves with it, or they'll use it to hang themselves. So what do? All I do is clean me. As I clean me, they get cleansed. And as we clean the programs we share, they get lifted from all humankind. This is all I do these days. It's what Dr. Hugh Land first told me he did on that phone call we had so long ago. All I do is clean, clean, clean. All I do is say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. The rest is up to divinity. I don't think this is heartless, but instead the most heartfelt thing I can do. And it's what I'm doing right now, even as I write these words. Finally, consider this spiritual punchline. Since the story of this person who wrote me is now part of your experience, that means it's up for you to heal as well. After all, if you create your own reality, then you have to create this situation too, as it is now part of your reality. I suggest you use I love you statements to heal this. As you heal yourself, the person who wrote me and everyone else who shares this program will get better. And so it's just that simple. And I realize that now, after embracing the Ho'oponopono method of healing, I have been able, just in this last week, to really let go of so many swirling thoughts in my mind. It keeps me and returns me back to that zero state. And I feel so much lighter. I feel more grounded and anchored in myself. And I realize that it's not a bad thing to take responsibility for things, because our healing comes from places so deep. Our pain also comes from places so deep that we don't realize, whether it's programmed from someone else or embodied in our ancestral lineage of experience. There's something there that just needs to be cleansed. We don't have to fix anything. We don't have to focus on any situation. It's just about taking 100% responsibility of our feelings to clear that and clean that. And so I realized that sexual trauma is something that so many of us have experienced in this lifetime, and others, that has come upon us. And so it's about healing that inside of ourselves, and that heals the vibration. And so when we can get past the need to blame and to be in a victim state, when we can get past, the veil that's been in front of our eyes that we were conscious yet still unconscious about, we can let go and take off the armor and learn to say, I'm sorry, and please forgive me, and thank you, and I love you. Just repeating that over and over again will cause me to cry, just purging that energy out. I don't even know where it's coming from. As I've been reading this book, each chapter, Justin and I are reading it together. We've made it a daily practice. And, we get into a channel and energy activates, and we're cleansing and doing all of this amazing stuff just by reading the book out loud to each other. And it's really wonderful. And the more I read, the more I will share for sure, because I am starting to see the amazing benefits of just simply being in that zero state of surrenderance, the void, the quiet space. And that's how we can heal the deepest trauma, which for a lot of us has been sexual trauma, because the root chakra and the sacral chakra it's our reproductive system, our creative flow, and that is where life gets created. Therefore, it is the creation portal. And if we're not in tune with our sexuality, of our sexual energy, instead of suppressing it and not embracing it and using it in a creative flow, that is really what gets us stuck. it gets us stuck. And so, even so, I find that since this has come up and I've been able to ho'oponopono it out, I've also done that to a couple of other experiences that I've received in my life in that same regard. And I feel I'm past those things emotionally and in my consciousness, yet it feels good just to go back and look at some of the things that have happened to me, to realize that I take responsibility for those things happening with me being involved in those situations versus taking on a victim role of blame or whatever. It doesn't even have to be about the words. It's just about cleaning it out. If something comes up, clean it out. And the Ho'oponopono way, please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you, is a really simple way to do it. Now, I was very open to embracing how simple this healing method is, yet my psyche needed a little bit of just like surrendering, like, wow, is it really this simple? Is that really all it takes to heal? Because, it seems as though us humans can really complicate things, and it's because we're solution finders and we want to fix and we want to change and we want now. Yet when we realize, when we get back to that zero state, that's our inspiration. That is that creative, sexual, reproductive, life creating flow that can get blocked up. And so it's not about being, going out having sex with a bunch of people. It's not about doing anything like that. It's about being comfortable with our own creative energy and our body and who we are, and getting reconnected with the one of the all, which is within ourselves. And so it's just so much easier to let emotional stored up stuff in the body and in the psyche come through. I mean, since I've been reading this book, there are some days or half days where I am ho'oponoponoing all day long. Like, I'm just, as soon as the triggers come in, I'm just going into, please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. And it gets me right back. And I realize if I'm having to do it a lot, it's because that's something that really needs to be cleared out. So it's not about finding solutions to the problems. It's just about cleaning. Clean, clean, clean. Do a little throat chakra activation now. Throat chakra activation is about speaking our own truth in our minds, surrendering to the truth and taking responsibility through love. And that's it, healing and cleansing. And so if you're open to receive this activation, all you have to do is in your channel, in your mind, is say you're open to receive. And the throat chakra activates our flow of energy in the way that we feel secure and grounded to vocalize ourselves. And so through this process of activation, things from the psyche can come up that need to be cleared out. And so using Ho'oponopono is a great method to do that. And you can tap along with me at your throat chakra if you'd like to amplify the signal, the energy exchange. Giving gratitude to the divinity. A little thyroid action. Okay, the activation is complete. And so what it is it's mudras, and meridians, and mudras activate specific organs in the energetic spectrum of the body. And so when done in a rhythmic pattern, it opens up the vortex of that area to send energy through. It's like Reiki, the hands, just different with mudras and incorporated Reiki and things like that. And so that was cool. We did a throat chakra activation there. Tapping is a very ancient technique of activating the body, back to Chinese medicine and all sorts of things. So you can go and check that out. And we did a little energy work here on the thyroid as well, which is an intricate part of our energetic chakra field. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining in today. I love you, family. I love you to the moon.